now. Donald Trump's campaign spokesperson, Katrina Pierson, is with me, along with radio host Ben Ferguson. Okay, Katrina, Putin comes out and calls Trump outstanding and talented. Is that an endorsement that you want?
Well, not at all. This wasn't an endorsement. This was simply just a powerful man recognizing someone in the United States running for president who was also a powerful man. It was not an endorsement. It was not an endorsement. That's your way of saying you don't really want one. I mean, because let's just be honest. Americans don't like Vladimir Putin. 70% of them in the most recent poll, and 76% of Republicans have an unfavorable view of the man. Well, I think that's why he also said that it's up to the American people to choose their leader. He was just recognized that Trump is a strength to be reckoned with. Ben?
Yeah, I don't think he was saying he's a strength to be reckoned with, and let's also be clear, I'm pretty sure Donald Trump gave him an A on leadership, referring to Vladimir Putin, a man that had a plane shot out of the sky with innocent women and children in it, a man that has had innocent people killed in Syria as he's gotten involved in that war, a man who overran in the Ukraine earlier last year, and you really want to be buddies with that guy, and to say, for Donald Trump to say that Vladimir Putin gets an A mark from him on leadership at killing innocent people, invading countries that are not his, expanding the world reach of Russia, and going into Syria and having innocent women and children, refugees, be killed at his command, and you want me to believe that Trump would give him an A rating? How do you defend that?
Well, it's not defending the entire rating, Ben, because as we've discussed in the past, context is extremely important here. This was in specific regard to ISIS. Period. And let's not talk about invading countries, Ben. The United States has been invading countries in the Middle East, toppling dictators and creating a vacuum for ISIS. So let's not talk about right and wrong here.
So you're saying that the foreign policy of Donald Trump would be, let's be clear. Are you saying that Donald Trump's foreign policy would be the same as Vladimir Putin, and you're saying that you wouldn't have gone after Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan?
Okay, which context do you want to talk about? Because we're talking about ISIS.
Let's talk about Afghanistan. Are you saying that the Trump campaign is now saying...
Let's talk about ISIS right now. Go ahead, Katrina, and then Ben will reply. ISIS.
Mr. Trump's statement was specifically with regard to ISIS, and people who don't like Trump really want to go out and just make this broad brush stroke, just like you're doing, Ben.
I didn't give Vladimir Putin an A rating.
It doesn't work. He gave him an A rating for taking the fight to ISIS, Ben. Acknowledge that.
Do you actually believe that Vladimir Putin is on the same team with the United States of America and going after ISIS, or are you really naive and Donald Trump naive enough to believe that he's not there to prop up Assad, which is completely the opposite of what the United States' interest is in the Middle East there?
I think the American public is not on the same side as this president when it comes to fighting ISIS. Just look at the polls.
We're also shouldn't be on the same side of Vladimir Putin on propping up Assad. Do you want to keep Assad in power?
Let me ask you, on this issue of the rating, take the A out of it for one moment. Donald Trump responded tonight, Katrina, to Vladimir Putin calling him outstanding and talented, and he said, quote, "It is always a great honor to be so nicely complimented by a man so highly respected within his own country and beyond." Again, I simply say 76% of Americans have an unfavorable view of him. Should Donald Trump have talked about it being an honor to get a compliment from the man?
Well, I think he was speaking out being an honor because he is the one out front fighting ISIS. Again, this is in the context of fighting terrorism, fighting ISIS in the Middle East. Vladimir Putin has stepped up. Do respect him for that, including Americans who may not like Vladimir Putin, but they do like the fact that he's stepping up and taking action against ISIS, whereas the American government is not doing that. They're continuing to arm people who don't know whose side that they're on, Ben.
With all due respect, let's be intellectually honest here. Don't tell me that you actually, and maybe the Donald Trump campaign does believe this, that somehow Vladimir Putin is a savior in the Middle East, and to think that Donald Trump is somehow exactly aligned with Vladimir Putin on foreign policy is kind of embarrassing if you actually think that that is what the foreign policy of the United States of America should be. And propping Assad
up. How many countries has the United States invaded in the Middle East, taking out dictators, creating vacuums,
I go back to what I said earlier then.
Stronger?
Are you saying that Donald Trump's foreign policy, are you saying that Donald Trump's foreign policy would be to not go into Afghanistan specifically and not go after al-Qaeda after 9/11?
Yes,
it does. You said we had wars. You said we had wars in the Middle East. The first war that we're talking about is Afghanistan.
Actually, Iraq is the first war.
Iraq. No, we went to Afghanistan first. We went into Afghanistan first after 9/11. You should know that. We went into Iraq second. You should also know that.
We are talking about ISIS, Ben. Mr. Trump has said from the beginning, we need to fight them, go where they are and take the fight to them. Vladimir Putin is the only one that has stepped up on the world stage and leading on this issue.
Putin is propping up Assad. Putin is propping up Assad. You should understand that, so should Donald Trump.
He is
there to help Assad.
He's also struck ISIS as well, but of course is propping up Assad. We'll see what viewers think about how each of you won that battle. Thank you. Out front next.